مساء Menahot Daf Nun Dalet Amud Aleph 15 lines down. First word. Tnanatam. V'nuntam Mishnah. Besara Ha'egel. Sorry. The meat of a calf. Shnit pah. That's swelled up to the size of a besa. Ubesar zekina shnit ma'ech, or the meat of an old animal that shrunk to less than a kibesa. Mishta'arin lichmot we go according to what they were. Right? So basically, we're trying to figure out it needs to be a certain size, and in order to be considered um having to ability to become tameh. Now the question is, if the cooking of something made it increase or decrease, depending on the quality. If it's good quality, it'll increase. If it's bad quality, it'll shrink. What do we look over? We go according to the initial, or we go according to the new. So machloket. Rabbi Yahya, Rabbi Hanan Amri, they say mishta'arin kemot shehen. We look as they are now. Shmuel Rabbi Shimon ben Rabbi Shlokish Lish Rabbi Mishta'arin shemot shehen. We look at it as they were. The question is, meat of a calf that did not have the initial measurement of a besa initially. Then it swelled and now it does. It's taor, like from the past, like before it swelled. And it's tameh from now on. Seemingly we go according to the current, not before. The word says midran is Rabbanan, but midraita we go according to the initial. Yeah, that's the case. Rabbanan, in myself, the next part of midraita says, "Ve'chen b'figul v'notar." The thing applies to bigul and notar. If you do pigul or notar, if you leave it overnight or you have pigul intentions, it ruins it. Yeah, my person makes that's why they could be pigul and notar. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Pigul notar no such thing as drabanan. Pigul notar must be that we go to right. They go according to the current value. Where I said Emma no. V'chem betumat pigul v'chem betumat notar. Same thing regarding tameh pigul and tameh notar. Why I need to mention three different types of cases of tuma? Therefore, maybe it won't be exera over here because Hachamim don't need to be so strict that you go even according to now, even according to ma pigul and notar. Come on, let me say yes, there is a takana. Tashma bring proof. Besides the kinash hayabo kashir or the meat of an old animal that initially had the right size, but make sure that it shrunk less than the shi'ur, to mid the kshavar, you go according to the past. But the harmi kan about it, from now on, seemingly you go according to the value of now, volume of now. Marabah says no. Anytime there's meat, usually it used to have it and now it doesn't. There's nothing here now. And if initially there was not enough, and now there is enough, we all agree that it's tameh midrabanan. Keep looking where's the machloket, going shayaba, kusher where there was, v'tamach, then it shrank, v'hazar v'tafach, and then it increased again. The more savar yesh tehui b'isra. Shmuel holds that once it's rejected, it's rejected. But more savar in the Yisra, Rav and the other rabbis hold that there's no such thing as rejection, and then it can always come back. ومعيكة the مرض يشتهي حدود السرن. This is the possible idea that someone holds that it could be rejected permanently. V'tam Mishnah says, "Ki b'tzeh or chaldin sheni haba chama." If an egg volume of tameh foods was placed in the sun, then it v'atu and it shrunk. V'chein, and similarly, kizayit minamet of a piece of a person, kizayit of flesh from a dead body, kizayit min nevela, or kizayit of a dead animal. V'chadasham min hasheret, or the lentil volume of a dead sheretz, which is the volume needed for a tameh of a sheretz. Uksayit b'pigul, kizayit of pigul. Uksayit notar, kizayit notar. Uksayit haylev, kizayit of pasul fats, asur fats. If any of them shrunk in the sun, what do we say? تهورين ده كسر تهور. بين حايبين and then مش بيقول فرتا بحايبين حايب any of these things. هني عم بقش من بتاعه we put in this grain and it grew. تمين ده تمام بين بحايبين then مش بيقول فرتا بحايب then بيخيا for eating it. تيوفتا ده من دمار ديشي تويسرا تيوفتا. It's a question against the one who holds that there is a rejection because we see that it could reinstate. Okay. That's my bringing proof. ترمين تأنيم على جرات شيء بنيان. We can separate معصير from fresh figs for dry figs by number, not by value. So seemingly, we are talking about over here maaser based off the number instead of volume, weight, quantity, volume like a measurement, or weight, which is weight. So you have 100 fruits, you want to separate 10 of them. Or you could do volume, 100 miles, or you could do 100 pounds, like that. So if you want to designate fresh fruits, figs as maaser for dry figs, you can. For every 9 dried figs, you separate one fresh one. You can only do this with a number not volume, because that would be less, because the fresh figs are much bigger. Okay. EMR based on the If you want to say that we go according to the initial assessment, that makes sense. And the EMR Kimo chain, if you want to go according to now, have the Rebbe Shema, something you're doing too much. But then it says, whoever gives extra maaser, perotab mitukanim. The fruits are considered fixed to eat. Ma'asrot mitukanim, but the maaser is ruined, and you can't eat the maaser for the Kohen. So we don't look at shrunken things like now. The Gemara says, "Elamai k'moshen," which means like they were. In Maseh, for a second part, it explains, "Giogrot shal taim jemida." You say maaser from dried figs by for fresh figs by volume, not by number. Iyamar b'shalom k'moshen and shapir. It makes sense to go according to the Anar, then good. Iyamar k'moshen, you want to go according initially. Marbe ma'asot hu. That is considered like designated excess again, and it should be ruined. Whereas Allah hacha b'trumat gitula skin here, it's not talking about a case of maaser, it's talking about truma gitula. That's the truma that the person gives for the kohen. V'reshe b'ayin yafeh v'sefen b'ayin yafeh. First case, the guy is giving extra generously, and the second case is the guy is giving generously. The second part says, my father Rabbi Yossi used to take 10 dried figs from the measure, and he would put them separately for the 90 fresh figs that are in the basket. I said, why, if it's why you have to do 10? Just be 1/60th or 1/40th. Whereas Allah hacha b'trumat ma'aser askinan truma ma'aser v'Abba Elazar ben Gamelhu. It's according to him. Tambert says Abba Elazar ben Gamelhu Omer v'nechshav lehechem trumatchem. You shall think of your truma b'shtit trumat ma'akton better two types of truma. Achat truma gla, one truma gla, b'achat truma ma'aser, one truma ma'aser. Shem truma gla, my kalab Omer, just like truma gla can be separated by estimating u'hashava and thinking it without doing it. Kach truma ma'aser nitlat b'omer, so two truma ma'aser can be done by estimating. Umachshava and thinking. That's why, according to Babazar, 1/10 doesn't have to be exact. Matrumat gulash ba'ayin fetch, like trumat like an extra. Af trumat maser ayin fetch, so you give extra by trumat maser. Umina, and I learn from there. Marabi alazar. Bari Blessy. The father used to do 10 out of 90 for the 90. If you want to say that they're for the way they initially are, that's fine. Elon make motion we want to do now, but Sirlu, it wouldn't be enough. Dry fix is much tinier. Yes, Radim Amar Bazar, Shani Grot dry fix is differently. Hoil via Cholish Okan Accident Motion. Dry fix is different than other things that are shrunk, like drying it out in the sun, because these things can be restored to their initial size by cooking them. And that's why we don't look at them like shrunken because they could be fixed. Tanu Rabanan. Termin tainim al gerot. You can separate truma asar from fresh figs or dry figs. B'makom shereglin also tainim gerot in a place where you usually do fresh figs or dry figs. But you cannot separate dried figs from fresh figs. Ba'afilu b'makom shereglin also tainim gerot, even in a place where they usually make fresh figs or dry figs. Why? Amar more. To make tainim gerot b'makom shereglin also tainim gerot. B'makom shereglin, only sounds like only where you usually do it. B'makom shereglin lo, but you place where they're not usually making them into dry figs, you can't do fresh for dried. Hecherim, that's the case. Either Kohen is a Kohen that accepts it. Why can you do it even in places it's no custom? By the time it says in Kohen to in the place where there's a Kohen, they take the higher level to produce for that as teruma. There is no Kohen. Now the problem is, in Masechet, the next part of the Berta says, you can't take dried figs for fresh figs. Even if you have them in Hag. If you like a Kohen, it's not a Kohen. And by law, why can't you separate? In a place with no Kohen, a person can separate teruma from the produce that lasts longer versus the higher quality produce. By the time he sees a Kohen, because there's no local Kohen, you want it to last. And the Kohen must be there is a Kohen if you're able to give him that. Gemara says, can it possibly be that the Braita has a case that the first case where there is no Kohen and the second case is there a Kohen? Do we like doing Braitot Mishnayot with such stark differences in the cases? The Gemara says, yes. Like a Kohen, the Kohen. Yes. First case, yes, no Kohen. Second case, yes, Kohen. Says, from here, it's better to give a forced interpretation, yani establishing a Braita with two different cases. We don't establish it as two different Tanaim saying different things, right? So it would have been seemingly easier to say that, oh, yeah, it's just a machloket tanaim. But no, better to say it's two different cases than start making up machloket. Men with men.